In our lives, we feel hunger. And when we eat, that food relieves the hunger. With PMO, we have a PMO addiction. We feel the craving for PMO. And when we do it, that hunger, that craving gets relieved. These two seem really, really similar. Hunger and PMO addiction. But they're completely different. I'm going to explain that very simply right now. This is a graph that I've made to describe how eating works very simply, right? Here's your hunger here. Over time, your hunger kind of goes down. You feel hungry. And when you eat, that hunger gets relieved. Same thing happens again. You get more and more hungry, and then your eating gets relieved, and you come back to zero. This is a pleasant experience, right? When you eat, it feels genuinely good. So, with PMO, it looks exactly the same on the surface, right? It feels the same. But when we actually look at what's happening here, you have the craving for PMO, and when you PMO, it gets partially relieved, right? You partially relieve the craving, not fully, because you want to PMO again very quickly. You're constantly flittering between tabs. You're never fully satisfied with it, right? When you PMO, let me talk to you real quick. When you PMO, right? Imagine you PMO. You feel disgusting afterwards, right? It doesn't feel good afterwards. You're not satisfied. You're not there like, I'm happy I did that. You know when you go to a restaurant and you're at a meal and you eat some good food. Restaurant food isn't very healthy, but let's say you eat some good food, right? And you're sat there and afterwards you're like, I could go to sleep right now. Like, I feel good. I feel satisfied. You never feel that with PMO addiction. With PMO addiction, you do it and afterwards you feel fucking terrible. Almost every single time. Every single time. Not almost every single time. Every single time like clockwork. You feel terrible afterwards. So that's why it partially relieves it, right? You're only a little bit better off afterwards. And you're not really, you still feel like shit. Notice another key thing here, right? PMO partially relieves the craving, but the craving continues down and down and down into hell, right? The craving continues. With hunger, the craving doesn't continue going down and down because you're genuinely relieving it again and again. And that's a genuine pleasure of being a human being, is having food, eating it, relieving that hunger again and again. It's an amazing experience. With PMO, the craving is just there. It's like a permanent itch. This is the key. Eating doesn't create hunger, but PMO does create craving. Eating doesn't create hunger. Hunger is a natural facet of being a human, whereas PMO creates craving. And the way you can prove it to yourself is by thinking about it this way. Before you were a PMO user, when you were a kid, did you have craving for PMO? Obviously not. When you first start PMO, that created a chain reaction where the first usage of PMO created the craving for the second, and then the second creates the craving for the third. And the reason why you know this is true is because before you started this PMO nightmare, when you were a kid, there was no craving for PMO. Were you like 7 years old, right, running around playing with your friends, and in the back of your mind you're thinking, PMO is good. You didn't even know it existed. The usage of PMO created the craving. Eating does not create hunger. PMO creates the craving for PMO. That's the difference. So there are two main differences, right? Eating, hunger isn't created by eating, whereas PMO craving is created by PMO. And also, PMO, when you PMO, it doesn't actually relieve that craving. It only partially relieves it. It doesn't make you satisfied afterwards. These are the differences. By thinking that PMO is this hunger that you need to create, that you need to constantly feed, you need to constantly relieve that hunger, and you kind of build it into your routine, you're absolutely deluding yourself. You didn't need to PMO before you got started with this mess. You don't need to PMO now. The way you overcome PMO addiction easily, without willpower, for free, is by reading the easy peasy method to quit porn. I'll link it in the description. Click it, it's completely free. No one's earning any money off it. I did it and it completely cured me. I love this method so much, which is why I just talk about it again and again. And I'll continue making these videos because I know that the message is getting through and people are reading it. People are getting in touch with me now and they're being like, I found the easy peasy method a year ago and I watched a video and now it's inspired me to read it again, and they're reading it again and they're getting cured. And I honestly can't wipe the smile off my face when I hear shit like that. I hate porn addiction so much, and therefore I love when people are getting free. Warms my heart. Love it. I love it. Please read it if you haven't read it already. It's free. There's no con. It's literally the best. Link here. Read it.